the idea for this presentation, and it's going to be mostly demo, so I won't bore you with too much PowerPoint, is how do you decrease support costs, increase user adoption, increase usage of your applications. Now, of course, the ones I'm focusing on over here is Dynamics 365 and Power Apps. But even go beyond that, the stuff that Faith was showing also with the Power Virtual Agents, when you're doing things as an editor, building these chatbots, or when you're in any web application, we're talking about anyone, how do you provide context-sensitive support and training? The reason, of course, for that is if you don't provide this, then the actual users who we are building all this for, if they get confusing, they get frustrated, they're either going to bother you with all these support questions, uh, or they're just not going to use it. Neither of those are good options. So anyway, my name is Asif Rehmani. I'm from Visual SP. And a really quick introduction of who I am. From Chicago. Currently, I'm in Orlando, though. I'm actually presenting at the Learning Solutions Conference here, but usually I'm in Chicago. The company is Visual SP that I represent. It's a contextual support platform. So the kind of stuff I'm going to be showing, we do that also. In fact, I'll show you Visual SP as well. I've been a Microsoft MVP for quite some time now, 16 years altogether. And I just love doing these kind of presentations at conferences and these webinars. So thanks so much, Aiden and Kylie, who's not here, for having me. I present at these kind of conferences. This is the one I'm at right now, Learning Solutions Conference. Back in the day, written a bunch of books as well, starting with SharePoint stuff and then moving on to other stuff as well. And I think I already put my LinkedIn profile URL in the chat. So if you want to connect with me, here's my email address and website as well. Okay, a few more slides just to set the stage, and then I'll jump into the actual demo to show you what I want to show you. But, mostly talking about CRMs in general and even other Power applications, things unfortunately don't go as well because there's so much customization that usually happens with all of them. And you can't just provide off-the-shelf training to people, and you try to cram all the stuff in, even if you do provide training, and people, when they actually need information to do their job, they're confused. That happens all the time. So what do? That's the thing. How do you get away from the whole 50% of failure rate with many SaaS applications, including specifically CRMs here? The usual app implementations that happens, and I have called out Dynamics CE over here, but this honestly goes for everything, is you have a company, internal or external, that deploys an environment like Dynamics. And then when it's being deployed, training is conducted for future users, right, who are going to be using it. And then you have the recording of that, maybe sitting in SharePoint or the file server or somewhere. And then you say, okay, good luck, have fun. Well, people, when they're actually using the software, they forget how they're supposed to do it. In most interfaces, including Dynamics, change is a constant all the time. So it's difficult for administrators to continually support and train users. So having said that, this is the built-in experience currently in Dynamics. You go into Dynamics. If you're a user, you click on the question mark, which I was just showing right now. And if you did that, it would take you to a whole mess of Dynamics documentation, and you will never go there again. I guarantee you. If it's a real end user, a salesperson, customer service person, project, field service personnel, whoever, this is just ridiculous the way this is. So I want to show you some of these things in actual reality of how this is, and then we'll go from there. Let's see, hopefully I got the right environments here. Okay, so here's what I'm talking about. In this case, I'm at Dynamics, but this could be a Power App, regular Power App, model driven, either way. If you happen to be a user, you click on the question mark, guess what? This is the documentation you're at, right? First starts out with talking about the next conference that's coming, that's Build. And then it's just got this whole mess of things over here. So if for end user, you don't even know which application you were in. If you were lucky and you knew you were in sales, for example, you go into documentation for sales, and then you gotta just search for all this content. It's not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen. So coming back here for a second, there is a good option that Microsoft has. I'll skip some of these things over here to go and show you the option that Microsoft has given. It's called Custom Help Panes and Guided Tasks. Okay, Custom Help Panes and Guided Tasks. You turn on that functionality from system settings, either from regular Power Apps model driven, or You go from Dynamix. Once you turn that on, it changes what happens when someone clicks on the question mark, and I'll show you exactly what happens. But before that, here's how you change it. So you go to advanced settings, you go to system settings from administration, and within system settings, there's this custom help panes and guided tasks. You can have this slide deck, which I believe I put a URL to this also if you want to download it, so you can see the animated image of how do you get there. I won't bore you with taking you there and making this happen. It's just a one quick administration change. Once somebody in your environment makes that change, here's the cool stuff that happens. But you'll like this. This is what Aiden was talking about before when I was talking at Dynamics Con Live last year, showing this thing. Many of the people did not even know this functionality existed. So now when I click on the question mark, here's what happens. By default, I know it's not it's not like nothing earth-shattering, like this is the empty pane, but it's a canvas over here where you can just put in whatever you want to put in as a admin to help your users. So when a user of mine is in a Power App or Dynamics and looking at this interface and is confused, I don't want to send them to that documentation that Microsoft provides because they're not really going to get anything from it. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to edit this over here and put some stuff right there so my user has access to the context-sensitive support and training and communication that I want them to have when they're at this interface. So for example, I'm in activities right now, right? I want to say activities help. All right. Now, as you can see, hopefully over here, let me zoom in. I can put bulleted items. I can put links. I can put some of these really cool things, which I'll show you in a second, and then additional stuff as well, images, videos, and so forth. So I'm going to start saying this is where the help for activities table exists, something like that, something generic. But then, you know what I'll do? In fact, actually, let me do this ahead over here. I'll put in my company's logo. So I'll pretend I'm a company called Globex. That's the one that I use a lot just for fictional corporation here. And I'll take this logo. Let me open this up in a new tab. Grab the link to this particular one online. Of course, you would be doing it for your own company, not like this. But I'm going to come back here and say that I want to dump in an image. And here's the URL for this. Say Globex. And then insert. Boom, just like that, I have my company's logo here. And I have some generic item over here. Now I'm going to, let's make this more fun over here. I'm going to put some information that's very specific to what my employees need. For example, I don't know how many people know on this call what happens when I click on show chart, but let me show you what happens actually. When someone clicks on show chart, it gives them this really cool chart over here showing these activities and stuff like that. So I'm going to show people that, hey, when you click on this show chart, this is what's going to happen. It's going to show you your activities by, I believe it was, month due. Okay, but how do I point to this thing? How do I point from here to there? That's what you want to click on if you want to see your activities by month or something like that. What did I just do? My pane just disappeared. Oh no. Sorry, I lost my editing over here. I think I clicked on a, anyway, let me just do this quickly over here. Activities, help, some specific combination that I use. Anyway, I'll just start from where I left off over here. So click on the show chart to show activities by month, okay? Now, of course, this is simple enough. I could just say, click on the show chart, but how do people know what I'm talking about over here? Here's how. I'm going to take this, make it into a link, but not like any other link. I'm going to make it into a coach mark link. Here's what it does. I'll drag this over here to this particular location and say, okay, point to this when this link is clicked. So watch what happens. I'm going to save this. Now, keep in mind, this is context sensitive, so it only will appear when I'm at activities. A user comes, let me actually start from scratch over here. Clicks on the question mark. This comes up. Hopefully there's a logo and other stuff like I was doing over here before. But regardless, it says click on the short chart to show activities by month. And it's saying, okay, well, where's that? They click on this and watch what's happening over here. It's pointing to short chart. Right? That's the coach mark. It's pointing to short chart. Now I can click on it and see my activities by month. Isn't that cool? Would love to hear, by the way, in the chat also, if you, first of all, if you think it's cool that this functionality is there, and if you have used it, if you're, what's your experience with it, that'd be really cool. I'll keep going and show you something else as well. Aiden, you can hear me and see everything okay, right? First of all, they're just so silent. Yep. I just want to make sure. Okay. Sometimes I wonder. Okay. All right. Here's an additional thing over here. Now, let's say I have a functionality where it requires more than just a coach mark. So I can't just point to something. I need to have some more explanation instead of just this coach mark blinking. So in this case, for example, in Power Apps, when you make these model-driven apps, or if you use a existing model-driven app like Dynamix Sales, Marketing, Project, whatever, they have always this ellipsis here, the 3 dots, which has export to Excel or import to Excel. And that's pretty important. Excel is very important in most of our lives, right? And I want people to know that the export functionality exists here. So here's what I'll do. I'm going to say, if you want to export this data, follow these steps or something like that. And then for these steps right here, instead of using the coach mark, I'll use what's called a balloon. All right, hopefully you can see that. It says insert balloon. So I'll do this, and same thing, have a drag to an element piece over here. I'll drag this. This time I'm going to do it to this 3 dots. Now, I have a way to provide a title and detail for that balloon that's going to come up. The title here is going to be export data to Excel, let's say. And here I want to say, click on the 3 dots, then click on export to Excel. All right. Okay. By the way, keep in mind, and I'm going to be pointing out the awesome things and also limitations as I go along here as well, that there is no way to put rich HTML here. So I cannot put a care as your turn. I cannot make this italics and bold and stuff like that, but I can put in regular text information. So I put this in. Looks like a regular link, right? But now if I save this and show you what it does, takes a little time, I've noticed, for it to save, but here we go. Let me once again start from scratch over here. A person comes here to activities. They click on the question mark. They have all the stuff available here. They click on, yeah, this is exactly what I want to do. What step do I follow? Boom. This is the balloon. It says here, export data to Excel. Click on the 3 dots, then click on export to Excel. Right, so I can actually do that while this balloon is still sitting there and do the actual action. And this kind of, what this is referred to generally, I'm sure some of you already know this thing, is these are, put that over here, contextual experiences. If you put context-sensitive experiences, are also referred to as contextual experiences like these that are directly on the interface, then all that awesome stuff that you're making, like what Faith was showing us before and other things that you guys make in all these web applications, they actually get used because people know how to use it, right? If you put documents and other things somewhere else, it's chances are that people will forget how to use different things. But this is how you can guide them at their moment of need and within context of their own environment. Yeah. Okay. Now, as I was saying before, this is context sensitive, meaning because I'm at the activities table or activities entity, it's showing me that particular the help pane that it showed. If I go to a different one, like contacts here, which is taking a bit for it to come up. Here we go, it's coming. If I go here and then I click on the question mark again, you'll see that that's going to be different. In fact, I already have a bunch of stuff that I put in here. I put the logo in here ahead of time. I put in some links and other things in here. In fact, I even inserted a video, which I can watch right there. So this is a leads versus contacts video. It's telling me exactly how that could be, what's the difference between leads versus contacts. Yeah. So you can embed videos, you can embed images, you can have links, regular links, rich HTML, and you can have all these other things. So this is similar to what I was showing before. Export your contacts is pointing to the same dots over here, saying I can export my contacts here. Great. And show all contacts by account. Click on that again. So let's do this. Yeah, here we go. So if I click on this thing, now it's showing me that here's what you want to click to show accounts or contacts by account. I click on it, and now it shows me contacts by account. Not just that, but you can also even put in links to anything you want. So in this case, the third one over here is saying, hey, you want to, we know a lot of people when they're looking at this stuff, they're also thinking about how do I get to my benefits portal? Because we've heard people say these things. So we put a link to that here. Now, when they click on, somebody clicks on this thing, it's going to open up, in this case, in a new tab over here, but it's going to the Ventoso benefits site, right? So you could do all kinds of stuff. It doesn't have to just be about the environment itself, but it could be anything. Policies, governance, guidelines, how to, and whatever else you want to convey. You convey it directly in context of people's environment. And I firmly believe this is much, much better than what I was showing before, which is the default, having people be frustrated by having this experience. And nobody likes that. Nobody that I've met so far, at least. All right. So that's what Microsoft provides you by default. But I do want you to also understand before, and if you do jump into this thing, that there are limitations. Okay, it's a really, really good way to start, but some things to be aware of if you're going to go this route. Once again, the actual functionality is called custom help panes and guided tasks. You can get this presentation. You can, I think the recording is being made over here too, so you'll know how to do this thing. You can also email me if you would like, and I can tell you more about it. You can also look on YouTube. There's videos that I've made and others have made about this functionality. Now, here are the limitations. There is no official support from Microsoft that I could find so far. I've talked to Microsoft about it. Not many of the Dynamics folks or Power Apps folks didn't even know this existed, surprisingly. But they move around a lot within the company that I know. Images and video integration, which I showed you, does have some bugs. I've noticed after playing around with it quite a bit. And then some elements on the page for the balloons and coach marks that I was showing simply don't work. And that is element by element, depending on if they had it configured where it's recognizable or not. Especially custom elements sometimes have a problem. Not every time, but sometimes have a problem, I've noticed. Now, what I was showing you before with the balloon, what we refer to this in the industry is a walkthrough. Walkthroughs. So you can have a walkthrough of step 1, step 2, step 3. In this way, what Microsoft has given, there is no step 2, step 3. You would have to make those individually as different lines within the custom help if you wanted to, but there is no way to do multiple steps. It's just one step. There's no way to draft items also. So when I clicked on that save button at the bottom right, it's available. Boom, there is no way to draft things. So please remember that. There's no customization and branding options either. So the blue color that I was showing for the coach marks, for the balloons and all that stuff, it remains that light blue, and you cannot change that to match your branding. And there's also no way to target items. So you cannot say that sales folks should see this while marketing should see that, and project operations and field service and everybody else should see something else, or editors for Power Apps and so forth. So please keep this in mind. When I do talk about these things, or anything for that matter, I talk about the pros and cons both, so you have to understand before diving into it, before hitting a wall, as to what it is that you're getting into. Yeah. Once again, it's called custom help panes, guided tasks. It is built into Dynamics. You don't really have to do anything else, get anything else. You just go into that system settings, change the custom help panes from no to yes. There's a radio button, and after that, you have that help pane available. You can customize. Now I see I'm at 6:38 p.m. Eastern time, so I have what I'm going to show you next is if, let's say, you say, you know what, this is really, really good stuff, but I don't want these limitations. I want to go beyond. What can you go beyond? That's where, here we go. If these functionality that I was showing over here, they are limited in nature, you can go with a next step, but that is a paid step over here of a company like ours, for example, Visual SP, which provides a contextual support platform for Dynamics, for Power Apps, for any web application for that matter. And what I want to show you is some of the possibilities that you can do with a system like Visual SP. There's other systems like that out there also. So you can see exactly how this works. Okay. So similar environment that I was in before. This is also Power Apps here, Globex CRM. And in this case, I want to, once again, provide context-sensitive help to my users. Going beyond with Visual SP, you actually can replace the question mark completely with your own logo. Yeah, so that's what we do for our clients when they sign on. It's just their logo goes directly on top of question mark. And now when people click on their logo, they get the content that's available to them that's coming from their company, or and some content we provide as well. So creating new records, creating activities, these for example, are videos and so forth that you can execute and see. Okay. Um, some latency over here. Let me actually just refresh over here. I've noticed that sometimes because of the latency, especially with Teams, things slow down. Okay, hang on a second. All right, sorry about that. Here we go. Yeah. Over Teams, I've had this issue before also. I don't know why this happens sometimes when I'm showing it. There's issues like that. Apologies. If hopefully this comes back, then I can show you. But what the idea over here, maybe I'll show you in a customer's environment over here. This is one of the customers, actually, a Culver City, their public site where Visual SP is right there and is showing as a tab over here. All the information that employees need, that people need, is right there. Employee benefits and information, how to use this particular site and all. And they can get to it very, very easily just by saying, hey, I'm looking for information about, what was that? Yeah, how to file this GoGov form, which is a form 700 in here, or health specific information. So here we go. Yeah. And these things are either videos or walkthroughs or inline help items and so forth. That's available. All right. Let's see if this, okay. Once again, it's gets to be a bit slow over here sometimes. Apologies. I want to be able to show you this thing in here, but here we go. So here's a video that came up, for example, creating new records, having the overlay directly on top of the environment right there, right? Or having a banner that automatically comes up. So this is all Visual SP driven, contextual experiences that are directly within or on top of the interface right there. And the people can click on learn more and they learn more about that information and so forth. Creating walkthroughs like I was showing before. Let's see, adding a help item. I go in here and I say, you know what, I want to make a new walkthrough. Going to walkthrough builder. And from here, I can just say, I want to go ahead and show a walkthrough by selecting an element on the page, for example, annual revenue. Yeah, let me point to that and say that this is change annual revenue by following these steps or something. Go in, add a border. Let me do one more thing here. Place this bubble that's going to come up on the left. Okay, so just by doing a few things over here, a couple of configuration over here in Visual SP, if I do a preview here, here we go. So these same kind of balloons that I was showing before within that appear here, and now it's appearing to the left to point to something. In fact, I have a built-out walkthrough that I'll just quickly show you. So let's say, once again, I go in here and say, you know what, I'm looking to adjust revenue. How do I adjust annual revenue on this accounts page? I click on this thing and it's guiding me. It's saying, okay, click on this arrow first, step 1, and the step 2 over here, change the revenue here. So I go in here and I go ahead and change it to whatever the new revenue here projection is. Ooh, that's quite a lot, 1.2 million here. But once again, the idea over here is that this goes way beyond what Microsoft provides. So if the custom help panes is a good first step, and then you can do something like this as well. In fact, in addition to banners, walkthroughs, you can also have inline help icons like these. So when people hover over, like, you know, what is contacts? It shows them exactly as a tooltip what a contact is. In fact, you can even have links to videos and other kind of things here as well. So in this case, it's explaining what's leads versus contacts. All right, I'll stop over here, keep this nice and short, but I want to definitely provide some next steps over here. So once again, my name is Asif Rehmani. This is my email address, asif@visualsp.com. And I specialize in the context-sensitive support and training, with the built-in stuff I teach about, and then also Visual SP as a company, we have this similar functionality as well to take it beyond. So I would definitely recommend, if you are an admin for Power Apps or admins for Dynamix or anything like that, so forth, there is this functionality, turn it on. It doesn't cost you anything. That'll be a great first step to provide much better help for your users. And it just takes a few minutes of your time to make it better. Of course, if you want to take it much further, you can check out Visual SP as well. We do a trial for 14 days. You can check it out in your own environment to see how context-sensitive support and training can, you know, be provided to your users to just make it simple for them to use the software, any software for that matter. All right, Aiden, I wanted to keep it short for you. I know it's getting late for everybody.
Well, that was awesome. Excuse me, sorry. So I did have a question for you. So I'm on a project now where I think they need some basics, like nothing crazy, but some good guided help, like you're showing. What, in your experience, what would be a good way to kind of estimate that? Like, how much should we spend? And sorry, I guess also part of that is, if we turn on that guided help, does that apply across the board, or can we mix and match that with the the link out to the doc site?
No, you cannot mix and match. Once that functionality gets converted, then the question mark is always going to go into the task or the help pane.
Okay, so if we wanted to use that, we'd really have to be committed to at least putting some usable amount of information on every form. Is that right?
Yes, but keep in mind there's not that many. We're talking about just the dashboard, the activities, each of the lists, and then the actual form page, right? For each account or whatever. And honestly, in my humble opinion, and I've been a trainer for a long time, it's much better to show them nothing than to show them stuff that they can't use.
Yeah.
Because that documentation, I'll tell you, I've done this experiment with so many people. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that.
No, I don't use it for even when I have questions. And yeah.
The same thing with users also. We're talking about users who are not technical, not like you. Did I get cut off? Can you hear me?
No. Yeah, you're good.
Sorry, I heard a ping or something. So these people, we're talking about real salespeople, customer service people, others. Many of them are not technical at all. And when they see that documentation, they just run. Like, you know what? This is stupid. I'm just going to ask Aiden. I'm going to ask Kylie. I'm going to ask somebody the answer, or I'm just going to go through the old-fashioned way of doing things. So much better to even give them some empty panes than giving them that documentation. There is a formula, by the way, that I like to tell people. I kind of rushed through it, so I didn't show that. But I'm at the learning conference over here, as I was saying, in Orlando, and I talk about contextual support and all these things all the time. No, I don't have that here. Sorry, but the formula usually is that if you can get people the answer they need within 2 clicks and 10 seconds, they'll be your friend. They'll follow you, and they'll actually use what you're giving them. If it takes more than 2 clicks and 10 seconds, and that's been proven, then the front part of your brain, your amygdala, basically says, you know what, this was more painful than I wanted it to. And then you are much less likely to repeat that process. So
that's really interesting.
Yeah. In fact, there's one slide in here that I'll go over here that I even talk to people that, you know what, forget about the whole training mantra. Stop training and start helping. So it's not really about opening their brain and pouring all this information and thinking that they're going to have that information available to them when they need it. It doesn't happen. Much better to just help them at their moment of need. And even if that's a small amount of help, exactly what they need though.
All right, awesome. Then we had a couple more questions.
Yeah.
Are you able to do different help panes per form, or do all forms share the same help pane for a given table?
Sure. For a given table, you're only going to have one. So
Okay.
it is specific to that context. Now, if I go into, let's say, a specific contact, that pane will remain until I click on the X. And if I click on the question mark again, it's going to be empty again. So it keeps that sticky pane over there on the side until I get rid of it. But if I click on question mark again, now it's going to say, all right, what do we have for a specific contact? And now there's nothing there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, great. And have you tried this at all on mobile devices? And have you had any thoughts around that?
Honestly, I've actually not tried it mobile devices, so I won't even speak to that. But I'm pretty sure that the experience does not work like this. This is very much for laptop, desktop, iPad, that kind of stuff and beyond.
Okay, excellent. That's all the questions in the chat. We still have a couple minutes. If there's anybody in the group that wants to come off and ask your question, I think this will be a great time for it.